So I am fortunate enough to be with this man right here, Jerry Springer. Very, very
Thank
nice
you for
to
having
meet
me.
you. Thank you for coming on in. And you're doing, so Judge Jerry is the new
Yes,
show, right?
yes.
Starting when?
September 9th
Okay.
on KVCW at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. So Monday, September 9th. And yeah, it's a Monday through Friday strip of court shows.
Well, what I think a lot of people forget. Now, you had a show that was rather popular that was actually on till what, last year, right?
Yeah, it's still on. It's
man.
well, because we shot 5,000 episodes over the 28 years, and so it'll just keep going.
Did you, when you started that show, Jerry? Did you know that? I mean, did you think, well, you know what, we'll do this for a while, however long it lasts?
Well, to be honest, I was a news anchor at the
Right.
time, and the company that owned the station where I was doing the news also owned Phil Donahue. And Phil was retiring,
Right.
so one day they took me to lunch and said, well, starting a new talk show, you're going to host it. So I was assigned to it as an employee, and it was only for 6 weeks.
Wow.
And then 28 years later, here we are.
So that show, and I mean, I know a lot of us watched it at the time.
It's stupid.
You're right. It is stupid.
Yeah.
But I think, you know what,
It's a nice stupid.
Here's a quote from you, and I love this quote because I think it pertains to everything that's going on today. You once said, what is interesting is that famous people can do the exact same things as people on your show, or even worse, and we put them on late night TV. We buy their albums, we buy their books, we cheer them on as heroes. And now I'm sure that each day you watch the news, you think, wow, my show was nothing
compared to what's really going on.
Yes.
Well, that is true. I always thought, look, I never told people to watch the show because
Right.
it's a matter of taste. I mean, I don't watch the show.
Right.
But then it's not aimed at people my
Sure.
age. But I always defended it
Right.
because I thought that the criticism against our show was elitist.
Right.
And as I said there, people complain not because of the behavior, because we totally worship the behavior on, if it's a celebrity, if you're
Right.
rich, if you're famous,
Yeah.
if you're good looking, we'll
Right.
put you on television, we'll buy your albums, your movies, and all that.
Yeah.
And we can't get enough of it.
Right.
It's cool. Let's
Yeah.
watch this. But if it's someone who isn't rich, who isn't famous, who isn't particularly good looking based on whatever your standards
Right.
are, then all of a sudden we call them trash.
Right.
And so it's like it's a snobbery.
Right.
So, this is, if
Well,
rich people can be on television, why not people who don't have a lot of money?
Absolutely. Well, I mean, just this week, of course, we've seen OJ join Twitter and has I don't know, almost 1 million followers at this
Sure.
point. Bill Cosby as well. And still, some of these people they're revered. They're revered in some ways, and it's
But we're
it's
fascinated by
crazy.
it. Now, I
Yes.
understand the fascination
Right.
because we are social animals. And 2,000 years ago,
Right.
people would gather in the town square or the marketplace, and they would talk to each other.
Right.
They would gossip about what was going on in the next village, or did you hear about so-and-so? So the subject matter is as old as literature,
Yeah.
is as old as the Bible.
Right.
I always say there has never, ever been anything that has been on our show that isn't also in the Bible.
Right. You're right about that.
And isn't in Shakespeare or whatever. So the behavior hasn't changed.
Right.
It's that in today's modern technology and with social media and television and radio, we are now, suddenly our neighborhood, our village has become the whole world.
Right.
So that is what is going on. But it's not that human behavior has changed.
No, you're right about that. We're under in such a huge world has become so small now
Yeah.
because of that, because of
Sure.
social networking and
Sure.
all of that. And I don't know if a lot of people know. Listen, we know about you. You were mayor of Cincinnati. You ran for. Did you run? Was it governor that you ran for?
I ran for governor
Yes.
in 1982.
It was not a. It was a
And
pretty close race.
It was a close election, but
Yeah.
people had to make a decision. Would they rather see me on television or be governor? And they voted for me to be on television because they voted for the other guy for governor.
It's kind of flattering, actually.
yeah, no.
It's kind of nice.
No, and the better guy won.
Well,
Yeah,
you
he
were an
did.
anchor, of course, an attorney. I think you went to Tulane.
Law school at Northwestern.
Yeah, it's okay. Can we go back though? I mean, your family history is pretty
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah, most of my family was exterminated in the concentration camps of Nazi Germany. My mom and dad survived and got to England, where my sister and I were born, and then we came to America when I was 5. So that is our history. But what is, and obviously millions of other people went through the same horrible thing. What is amazing to me is that in one generation, my family went from extermination to this ridiculously privileged life I live today because of a silly TV show. So I know America can work.
Yes.
I mean,
Yeah.
that no one has to convince me of that. I know it can work. I think the fight now is to make sure that it works for everybody,
Right.
not just those people like me
Right.
who are lucky.
Gosh, that's very inspiring. Actually, I heard somebody recently, and I believe it was James Corden, and somebody asked him, "Do you think so? So is England number one for you? Is Europe number one for you, or is America number one for you?" He said, "That's such a stupid question." He said, I love them both. He said, "I still have hope." He said, "You people who live here in the United States, you forget what it's all about." And I think what you just said, the fact that you still have hope, and a lot of us still have to have hope because we're living in some rough times right now.
Sure.
You know?
Yes. And obviously, I'm an American. I've been here since
absolutely.
I was 5. I mean, that's.
No, absolutely. No,
but I do obviously have a love of Great Britain because of what
Sure.
it saved my family. So, sure. But what Americans, people who were born here and lived all their lives here, they've always been a free country. They've never had a war over here.
Right.
Pearl Harbor was attacked.
Right.
The World Trade Center was attacked, but it's not like the whole country was invaded.
Right.
And, so they don't have the European experience and whatever. And so some things are kind of taken for granted here.
Absolutely.
There isn't as much fear here of, we're going to lose our freedoms.
Right.
We don't even really think about it.
Right.
And yet every time something is happening at the federal level, let's say, where those of us who have a history of how quickly freedom can be taken, and all of a sudden dictatorships come,
Right.
because it's never taken overnight. It's always one little step at a time, one little step at a time. Every one of the dictators in the 20th century was voted into power in the beginning.
Yeah.
They became part of the Reichstag in Germany, or they became part of the proletariat in Russia, or the parliament in Russia before they had the revolution. In other words, dictators come in at first because they're voted in as a minority within one of the parties.
Right.
And then they gain power within the party, they take the party over, and then all of a sudden they're in control of, we'll control this issue, we'll
Right.
control this, and then the press gets destroyed,
Yeah.
or not destroyed,
Yes, well.
or questioned. In other words, these
Right.
steps, we're not making it up because it really happens, and we don't believe it's happening here in America, and it's not there yet.
Right.
But when there's concern and fear and people in the streets demonstrating, they're not making it up.
Right.
Chances are most of them have an experience in their family overseas, and they remember it, and it kind of frightens them.
Right.
And I think that's what's going on in this country. This is not the toughest time for America. People that believe this forgot the Vietnam War,
Well, sure.
forgot World War II, how many
Sure.
Americans were killed, not just the Europeans, how many Americans were killed in World War
Right.
II, how many Americans were killed in World War I and the Civil War. This is not the toughest time for America, not by a long shot.
Thank you for reminding
Yeah.
me and so many others.
Yeah.
That's
But we got to pay attention.
We do.
That's why politics is important.
Right.
Because we don't pay attention.
Well, and now, let's flip the page, and now you are Judge Jerry. And what so I think of you now as listen, you weren't without scandal when you were younger.
Yes.
Scandal by today's standards,
Yeah.
really nothing. None of us are.
Yeah.
So, is this going to be easy for you to listen to a lot of people who probably could have been on your show, and
Well, they're these are everyday people,
right?
from all income groups,
Mm-hmm.
who they didn't, when they filed suit, they had no idea they would wind up on television.
Oh, okay.
Because the way the people come to these come to the court shows, we have what they call stringers around the country. Each one is given a region of the country, and every day they check the dockets of every courthouse in America, and they find interesting cases that have been filed.
Okay.
They then contact the plaintiff and the defendant and ask them, would you be willing to have your case adjudicated in Connecticut by me?
Right.
And if they say yes, on television, if they say yes, then we fly them there.
Okay.
So, and they come from all 50 states.
Right.
So I have to apply the law of that state to their case. But it's all legit.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the decision that I give, or any of the other court shows, the decision that the judge gives, that's final.
Wow.
You cannot then appeal it to a court of common pleas. So the people deserve to be treated with respect. So I'll joke around a little bit because I can't help it. But the decisions are serious.
Well, I used to think when you were doing your show that every couple weeks or so there was a meeting, with you and Oprah and Sally Jesse at the time, that you guys had this little, I don't know, it was cocktails or something at the end of the week. And now I'm thinking there's you. You're in good company with Judge Judy, of course, who will never go away. Yes. I don't think she'll never retire.
I hope not. She's a good lady.
She's amazing.
She's the best at this business.
She's so good. The beginning of it all, I think, was Judge Wapner, I believe, with
the People's Court. Sure.
And there are a few of them out there. Anything that you think you will do differently, or that you'd like to see done differently?
Well, I just didn't watch court shows.
Right.
I didn't even watch talk shows because I worked during the day. So
Good.
I didn't. Have I seen it?
Sure.
I'll be sitting in an airport and I see it, or in a doctor's office.
Yeah.
So I've seen it, but I can't tell you honestly that I ever saw an entire court show the full 1 hour sitting down and watching. And then once I got this job, I purposely haven't watched because I don't want to try to copy someone else.
Right.
So when you ask me, will it be different? My guess is there'll be a little more comedy just because of my background.
Yes.
But in the end, as I said, I'm going to be respectful of the plaintiff and defendant before us because they're serious. It's important to them.
Yeah.
So I guess if anything's different, it's the personality of the judges.
Right.
But I'm not going to try to be different because I don't know how they are.
Right.
I'm just going to be however I would do it.
I think, first of all, I've always respected what you've done on every level. I'm a fan as well. When I heard I was going to meet with you, and when I heard that you were doing the show, I know there will probably be another Supreme Court opening at some point. So. Well,
I'm counting on it, though. I'm not sure that Trump would appoint me to the Supreme Court.
No, he probably wouldn't.
I'm not sure.
I know.
But if he did, I would say thank you very much, sir, and I would.
Judge Jerry, you are going to be able to tune in September. I look forward to it. I know all of Las Vegas is looking forward to it as well. And I cannot thank you enough for making yourself available.
Well, you're very sweet.
And letting
Thanks
me talk
for
to you about
me.
a few other things.
Whatever
Absolutely.
you want to talk about.
You're welcome in Las Vegas anytime. You know that.
Thank you.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much. You are a doll, Jerry.